Now, the world of data in motion is about more than just events moving through Kafka topics and stream processors real fast, okay? Now, one other thing event-driven architectures let you do is build entire business functions, or even whole companies, out of software, out of automated, asynchronously interacting services. So Bank BRI Agro has done just that. Now, just to give you a little hint, they've got a loan disbursement process that involves no humans in the loop and still manages to obtain ISO 20000 certification and deliver a 0.6 rate of non-performing loans. Now, I'm not a banker, so I don't know if that's good, but I'm told that if you are in banking, that's actually pretty impressive. So these are folks we'd like to hear from and learn what they're doing with Kafka. June Rao is here to talk to Bank BRI Agro's CEO, Kaspar Situmorang, about how they did this and where they're going next. June and Kaspar, welcome to the stage.
Hi, Kaspar. Welcome to Kafka Summit 2021 for APAC. To get us started, perhaps you can tell us a bit about Bank BRI Agro as a business. What are some of the problems you're trying to solve, and why is it formed?
Thank you, June. Happy to be here in the Kafka Summit today. Bank BRI Agro is the pinnacle of digital bank in the Bank BRI groups. So for the past few years, we've already been running one of the biggest transformations in banking in Indonesian history. So the Bank BRI, as the largest bank in Indonesia, we've always aimed high to become the best banks in Indonesia to serve the micros and ultra micro segments for the past few years. And for the past 3 years, we've tried to amplify and accelerate our digital transformations. So of course, this is not an easy path, because the banks was previously serve agribusiness sectors, and now we try to flip and pivot to become the full digital bank serving the new segments by the name of gig economy, or the informal sectors around Indonesians' population. So last year we saw there is an incremental growth within these segments. It grew 27% during the pandemic last years, and the problem with these populations was not so many banks built the digital infrastructures around this gig economy. So we would like to be one of the successful building the digital infrastructures around this informal sectors workers, providing them with the reliable digital lending and digital savings services. So we are happy as well. We were one of the only bank in Indonesia who got the license to do so. And we combine and integrate a lot with platform owners in Indonesia. So this underwriting running so fast in just less than a few minutes, of course, with the help of Confluent Kafka. So by having this underwriting really fast and also digital verifications really fast, this has been a very tremendous help for us to provide some sort of a reliable and dependable financial service to a gig economy in Indonesia. Back to you, Jun.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, this sounds like a great business you guys are building there. So why have you turned to Confluent and Kafka? So what is this technology giving to the bank?
Right. So we've already been avid users of Confluent Kafka for the past few years. When I was in Bank BRI, one of the biggest use cases is instant underwriting for our credit scoring. So with this capabilities for the past few years, we were the only bank in Indonesia who are able to get the license on fully digital lending by scanning the face, scanning the ID, money disbursed in less than 2 minutes. Previously, before 2018, it took about 2 weeks for us to do loan originations until loan disbursement. So this has been a tremendous customer experience for lots of our customers in Indonesia, and at the same time, this has been a tremendous business boost as well as a tailwinds to our pandemic situation last year, because lots of banks unable to do and have digital services, but we are the only bank at that time who got the license, and we are the sales on the digital lendings, the sales on our digital savings are incrementally great, I think. So this has been a great journey, I think, so far. Thanks for the help of Confluent Kafka to do so. And last but not least, I think, as we are a digital bank, of course, the cyber fraud by the name of fraud detections last year has been a tremendous boost and tailwinds as well for us, as we are able to capture and stop lots of anomaly transactions within our open APIs and our ATMs to spot it and stop it at the same time in real time.
Yeah, cutting the underwriting time from 2 months to 2 minutes. That's super significant. Could you help us put the capacity from Confluent and Kafka into a bit context? What's the larger architecture this technology fits in?
Most of the banks have lots of legacies and monolithic architectures, right? So we were lucky. The management of BRI previously has put a lot of investments to us and trust us with this investment. So we are able to accelerate and amplify the microservices implementations bank-wide within the organizations. For example, in loan disbursements, we are able to originate a lot of microservices from KYC, from combining a lot of computer vision APIs with some of the Google services, for example, and many other credit scorings, fraud detections embedded within these credit underwritings APIs at the same time, and asynchronous or event-driven happening in less than few milliseconds. So let me give you examples. For example, in the credit scorings and the digital signatures and in the fraud detections, all of these are running asynchronously. They communicate each other's, of course, correctly, by the help of Kafka. And I think so far, since 2019, there are a couple of banks who are trying to imitate us, but I think until today, none other banks got the license to do so.
Yeah, that's great. So did you use those advanced stream processing capabilities like KCQDB? And if so, what are some use cases you have?
This is one of the important factors in fraud detections. In fact, I always keep saying to engineering team, this is one of the miracles I think in the engineering world to have. So thank you for that product, June. So KSQL is very important in our day-to-day organizations. Yeah. Just to give you an example, before fraud detections, it took about a couple of days in order to find anomaly in millions or billions transactions per day. So back in 2018, we've started to research, and finally we stumbled upon the KSQL capabilities within the Kafka. So now we can run billions of transactions simultaneously, and we can spot normal, and we can distinguish normal and anomalies transactions in real time and respond to it in real times as well. So this has been secure and safely guard our customers' funds and trust within our organizations to combat this kind of cyber crimes. And I think for the past few years, we try to kind of embrace to many other banks within the realms of state-owned enterprise to use the similar approach that we had. And I think we successfully kind of a campaign, this kind of a model to many other organizations within the state-owned enterprise banks in Indonesia. So hopefully, I think in the next upcoming years, we can amplify and speed up, I think, some of the detections on some of the other scenarios that the cyber or the fraudsters have even more, I think, in the new upcoming years. So we can able to detect faster and faster than before and stop it before it happens with the help of your brilliant technology, I think.
So let's switch gears a little bit. So what are some of the impacts and business results that you and your team can attribute to those use cases you just mentioned?
All right. I think if it's okay, I try to break it down into three components. In terms of productivity, so for the past few years, we try to kind of play around with the business models and amplify the new kind of models to do so. So of course, from 2 weeks to 2 days, and then just less than 2 minutes, we are able to complete the whole originations, the loans until disbursements. it's amazing tailwinds in terms of our bottom lines as well. And at the same time is increased and created a new kind of a business model for the banks. And it's become the flagships of this Bank BRI for the past few years. So as the largest digital lending providers in Indonesia, I think we are very happy to announce that last year we scored about 3,000 customers per day, and we are able to maintain a very low NPL, non-performing loans, in just less than 0.6% last year. So, and the most important things, this whole process of digital lending disbursements has no more humans in the back ends and on the in the middles. This has been a great process. It's been ISO 20000s as well, as we are the only bank who got ISO 20000s in Indonesia, especially on the digital lending businesses. The second part of the game, I think, besides the productivity, is the trust, right? We are the banks, so we have to safeguard our customers' funds and customers' trust. So through and through for detractions, I think we are successfully and happy to say that we are guarding their funds really serious and stop in real time any threat that might come to harm their fund in our organizations. And last but not least, I think we become a more engineering organization. So we could say that we are a bank that has a technology as a culture within the organization. So we are a technology company with a bank license, shifting from previously monolithic to now becomes event-driven organizations. So implementing lots of thousands of microservices across the organizations and more KSQLs within the premise. I think it's already been a tremendous journey in terms of the cultures within the organizations, as each and every groups are able to provide their own unique microservices, and anyone can embed and integrate in less than few hours within their organizations. So it's culturally change. It's also tremendous trust for our customers. And last but not least, I think as the productivity increased, also the top lines and bottom lines are much better than before. That's why we are able to keep maintain as the largest bank in Indonesia and the most profitable banks in Indonesia for the past 13 consecutive years.
Yeah, thanks. So for a lot of our users for Kafka and Confluent, what we saw is, they start with a single set of use cases, and then they evolve to more like a central nervous system. So how does this come about at Bank BRI Agro and for your team?
Yeah, I agree with you. And that's also what happened within our organization. So for the past few years, we've started the journey in 2018. So when we stumbled on Confluent Kafka back then, we've started with very, monolithic and lots of legacies on our own. Now we are happy. I think we've got close to 1,000 of services running on top of our platforms, whether it's banking platforms or back office platforms or on the digital landscapes. And more services are coming to get the benefits out of this. And each and every organization who wants to use these services from other organizations within the BRI groups are able to pull this very easy and very fast fashions. So yeah, I think in order to be able to successfully do this, we need to get back from the IT architectures team. So this has been a great collaborations within our organizations to be able to amplify to use this Confluent Kafka as the single nervous systems in our architectures. So all of the organizations embrace this, combine all of them, connect all of the services across the organizations utilizing these central nervous systems. And I think this also, if I may, saying that the recipe of success compared to any other organizations within our industries in Indonesia is how fast you could, talk to each other's services in a fashions, right, and reliably. So now we can claim that we are already like Lego organizations, the toys kids, Legos or toys. We become like a Lego. We are able to connect each other's services in just a few hours. And that has been a tremendous journey so far. So whatever front ends that wants to utilize in it, whether it's the underwriting, whether it's the merchant assessments, whether it's the fraud detections, whether it's the originations systems that wants to use this kind of other services from any other group in our organizations, it's very easy to do so. All these parts of banks now talk through these kind of integrations.
Hey, thanks, Kaspar. Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. Now this platform is becoming the internal technology language. So let's talk a little about cloud and managed services. Bank BRI, as I understand, you guys are moving towards public cloud computing in Indonesia. So could you tell us a little about that and how you have navigated this cloud transition?
Yeah, when we're building the new digital bank, it took us less than 8 months to utilizing this Confluent Kafka within our organizations. In Indonesia, when GCPs was entering and they have a data centers back in 2020, we were the first bank to utilizing their services in our organizations. And now we've been utilizing that ever since, and also embedded into GCPs. Lots of our services running on Confluent Kafka within the GCPs, because the volume of transaction is so big, because the customers are expecting you a reliable services, I think. So we need some sort of a reliable backbones supported by a specific reliable services of an event-driven infrastructure. So we are lucky, I think, utilizing those kind of infrastructures to help us, facilitate the instant underwritings, the instant fraud detections, the instant merchant assessments, and so on and so forth within the business sites. And integrating them with Kafka has been very easy ever since, I think.
Sounds good. So one last question for you. So what's next?
Yeah, we're trying to build a massive amount of supplier financing platform as a super aggregators in Indonesia. So as usual, we always think about platforms and platforms economy, as we are also serving the gig economy. So we have to think like a platforms owners as well. And by doing so, we're trying to build from two sides of the coins, from the merchant sides and from the supplier sides, building them a reliable and easy to use super platforms for them to do the supplier financings, and enabling this and building this as fast as possible for both sides. And especially in this pandemic era, we believe that our solutions to help these merchants and suppliers, especially in the HoReCa businesses across Indonesia, this is our contributions to support small, medium business all over Indonesia to thrive and survive. Especially, this is also our ways to contribute to the help of Indonesian economy recovery, especially supported by Bank Rakyat Indonesia ecosystems. So with that being said, hopefully our contributions will be as real as possible to, amplify the Indonesian economy back again, like usuals, hopefully by utilizing our super platforms in our supplier financing.
All right. Yeah, that's a great story. All right. Thanks for sharing your experience with us, Kaspar, and enjoy the rest of the conference, and wish you continued success at Bank BRI.
Likewise. Thank you, June. All the best for the Kafka Summit 2021. Cheers.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.